Hi, I'm Pearly, Pearly Delicious Travels, and I'm here to share another episode of some delicious, healthy, easy to prepare, nutritious, vegetarian food for you. Today I am going to be making a sauce/soup made from cauliflower and roasted or baked kabocha squash with zucchini noodles, so like a spaghetti with a sauce, but also it can be used like a soup. It's very versatile. You can do a lot with this, adding all kinds of different flavors. You can add Indian spices, or dress it up or down, simple or complex as you like. So it's a wonderful foundational recipe made with coconut milk. And you might be wondering, why am I holding this globe? Well, I thought I'd share a little bit about Pearly. I'm Pearly, but I wasn't born with the name Pearly. I was birthed with the name Margaret, and Margaret means pearl. And, they say that the names that we have somehow imprint itself, or the name is imprinted on each soul, so to speak. And Margaret means pearl. And the way a pearl is made is very interesting and seems to somehow define what my life has been like, to bring me to this point of actually being able to say I'm a pearl. Because pearls don't start out as pearls. They start out as a mollusk with an irritant in it that creates something, a liquid called nacre, that is excreted from the mollusks to surround this irritant. And it just keeps excreting it, and it keeps building up, until it forms into this beautiful, precious jewel. And so my life has kind of been like that. I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot brought on by myself, many things from naivety and just being innocent and naive and making poor choices out of that. And, it's been interesting, but it's a journey. And I think we all have very unique and individual paths that we take, but yet there's so many things that connect us. And that's what I'm interested in through this platform of sharing food, which I love. And along my journey, I became a vegetarian and learned many different types and styles of food making, and got into a healthy lifestyle, very interested in natural health and holistic health and healing, and using foods and other modalities together to form a holistic way of life. And I think it's important for us to connect and share our stories. And I have always loved travel, and I have been many places over the globe. I was born and raised in Canada, and my home life was not that great because I had a father who had serious anger management problems. So I grew up developing a very strong case of low self-esteem, and felt a lot of fear. At the same time, I was very gutsy and kind of bold. And the good thing is that my father went on vacation for 6 weeks every summer and took us in the car with the tent trailer, and took us to places in Canada and the United States and Mexico. And it really birthed in me a love of traveling. And I witnessed at home, really, my father didn't seem very happy, and seemed to live his life out of obligation, very discontent. And I thought, there must be more to life than this. And I needed to find out what the purpose and what the meaning of life was. And there's got to be more to life than this. So I left home when I was very young, which wasn't a great thing to do, but I was very drawn to the West and to the ocean. So I left home and I went clear across the country over to Vancouver Island right here. And there's a little, there's a city called Victoria. So I went to Victoria and I lived there for a short time, but I was really obsessed with going to San Francisco. So from here, I went down to, where's San Francisco? Right there. San Francisco, right there. Ended up there. And I love San Francisco. It was this vibrant, alive, exciting city. And I enjoyed, I made friends and unfortunately did a lot of drugs as well. But I got into healthy food. I became a vegetarian there. And in San Francisco, I found they had the most amazing, thick, filled with sprouts, overflowing with sprouts and veggies and just the greatest sandwiches you could imagine. Huge. And salads that were just amazing. To this day, I can still remember the flavors and everything. And I became a vegetarian and really interested in health food and a lot of different holistic health modalities, and really started to embrace that in my lifestyle. And then I made a girlfriend in San Francisco, and she was from Hawaii. And when we got bored with San Francisco, she said she wanted to go home, and she invited me to come to Hawaii. And I hadn't actually thought about Hawaii prior to that, but I decided to go. And so from San Francisco, we went across the ocean to the Hawaiian Islands right here. And when I got off that plane, oh my goodness, the fragrant scent of the air and the warmth and the palm trees, you know, swaying in the wind, I fell in love. And I got off that plane and I just felt like I'd come home. It was the most amazing feeling. I'd never experienced a place so beautiful and so magical. I was very young when I first landed in Hawaii. I was barely 20, and I thought I was wise. I thought I knew it all, but I lacked discernment. And when I was first there, things went really well. I got into modeling, and I ended up going over to England with my friend as well. We went over to England for a while, and I stayed a year there. But then I really missed Hawaii. I longed for Hawaii. It was calling me back, so I went back to Hawaii. And it was that second trip that I fell into something that turned actually into being quite dark and sent me on a path and a journey that was, you know, something that I could have missed on. I could have done without. But that's the whole point of me wanting to share here on this platform is, you know, we all take detours in our life, or we all have plans or ideals for our lives. And a lot of times we end up on these detours. But then looking back, you realize that, wow, you know, it made me stronger, or it helped to formulate who I am today, so that we can reach out to others and connect and share our stories and maybe not feel so isolated or so alone, or you know, a lot of times there's shame involved, especially for women, or guilt, or, you know, and we need to connect with one another to realize that we're not alone, and we need to heal. And that's part of healing, is not holding those hurts and those pains and that brokenness in, but being willing to be vulnerable and to share our stories with one another. So I like to do that while I'm also sharing healthy food and lifestyle things that we can do to improve areas of our life because we're holistic beings, so mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And so I want to try to combine a few of those areas and connect with you. I'd like to hear from you, hear your stories. I hope you will try the recipes, these foods that I'm sharing, and let me know what you think of them, or if you came up with any alterations that you thought were really great. I hope that we can do that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for hopefully sharing. And let's get on with the recipe. So I've got my kabocha squash here. I've cut it in half. And I'm just going to scoop out the pulp and the seeds. And you know, kabocha squash is an excellent source of beta-carotene, which is great for immunity, healthy skin, hair, and eyes. It's rich in iron, vitamin C, and some B vitamins. And also, kabocha squash has just a fraction of the calories that other squash varieties have, and it's very high in fiber and low in carbohydrates. This particular brand or kind of squash. On top of that, it's got a delicious flavor. It packs an impressive health benefits. So now I've got the pulp out there, and I'm just going to give it a cut it into pieces. So I'm just giving the squash a little olive oil wash, just brushing it on. These brushes are wonderful. It's made with silicone, and it just gives you a nice control of the oil that you're painting, basically. It's like a paintbrush. And after I get the oil on like so, I'm going to give it a nice sprinkle of salt. And a sprinkle of garlic salt as well. Well, it's not salt, it's not salty, but it's a garlic powder. I'm just going to put that on, add to the flavor, add a beautiful richness of flavor. And I'm also going to add, which goes so well with squash and pumpkin and sweet potato and things like that, a little bit of cinnamon. And this will just add a very nice soft hint of flavor to the sauce that we're going to make. So I just add a bit of this, and then from here I'm going to pop it into the oven at 450, or sorry, 400, 400, and we're just going to bake it until it's nice and soft. While my squash is baking, I have some cauliflower here that I've washed and cut into florets. And I'm going to put it into my steamer and get that going now. And I want to share with you that cauliflower is an extremely healthy vegetable that's got a significant source of nutrients. It contains a unique plant compounds that may reduce the risk of several diseases, including heart disease and cancer. Additionally, it's weight loss friendly and incredibly easy to add to your diet. It's very low in calories and high in vitamins. It's got almost every vitamin and mineral that you need. So I've got it in my steamer here. I'm just going to pop it on the stove and steam it until it's nice and soft. Here's our kabocha squash coming along. It's looking delicious. While the squash is baking and the cauliflower is steaming, I'm going to slice up some mushrooms to lightly saute in a little bit of olive oil. So here are my mushrooms that I've sauteed. And according to the doctrine of signatures, mushrooms denote the ears. They help to prevent ear infections and excessive wax buildup, as does garlic. And you know, the doctrine of signatures is really fascinating because its premise is that the Creator has put His signature on everything in creation, and that all plant life and the fruits, vegetables, all represent a part of our body, and when used holistically in our foods, they help to heal illness and disease, or prevent illness and disease. And it's a beautiful, fascinating study. And so, as I said, mushrooms represent the ears, and the squash that we're using today is very helpful for the throat, which may prevent hoarseness or infection. It's also a brain food. So I've just placed the mushrooms in a little bowl. I've just put them to the side, and we'll use this as a garnish later for those who love mushrooms. Now comes the most fun time, the time to assemble. And I'm going to pour a can of coconut milk into a Vitamix blender. This is just regular coconut milk. I have an organic bouillon cube, vegetable cube. I've just used half and dissolved it in some hot water. So I'm just going to pour that into the blender as well. So now it's time to add the steamed cauliflower. Cauliflower is good for the lungs. You see how it looks like I don't know what you call it, but the channels of the lungs and the brain. Can you see the brain imprinted on the top of the cauliflower? Oh, that one's been cut a little bit, so you can't really see that there. Let's try this one. There. And to the coconut milk and the cauliflower, now we're going to add the roasted or baked squash, Kabocha squash that's got the cinnamon on it, garlic powder, and salt. We're just going to put that in there. Oh my goodness, this is going to be so good, just the flavors separately. And if you can imagine combining these together, how delicious this is going to be. How easy, simple this is, and basic but elegant at the same time. Okay, I'm going to leave a little bit separate so that I can just nibble on that. Alright, so that's what that looks like. Now I'm going to add something that is completely optional. This is Parmigiano, Parmesan cheese. Now, if you want to make this vegan, you just do not put this in. But for this particular one I'm showing you now, I'm going to put a couple tablespoons of slivered Parmigiano pieces. It just adds that added little flavor, that little unique zip. Now I'm using a Vitamix to blend this. You need a blender with a very powerful motor, at least 1,000 watts. And so that's why I love, and a lot of chefs use, and raw foodists as well, use the Vitamix. So I'm just going to blend this up. Okay, so I'm going to sample this. Looks really nice. It's a nice yellow color because of the squash. Taste test. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's meets all my expectations and then some. That's delicious. Now on to the next stage. So now we're going to make zucchini noodles. raw zucchini noodles. And can you guess, with the doctrine of signatures, what zucchini would be related to? Well, if you're wondering, it helps with penis health due to high levels of magnesium, zinc, and B vitamins. I'm using a Ninja, and it has a attachment which makes, which sterilizes. So you just add the attachments and the blade. I'm using one to make thin zucchini noodles. It's very easy to put together. And you know, you can get like handheld sterilizers. So whatever you find that works for you. I like this one because it's foolproof. I tried the hand one and it just didn't work for me. So to sterilize the zucchini, I've just cut off the ends and then you put it in the Ninja here, turn it on. Is this not so cool or what? Look at this. Wow. I remember the days of when you could get super long spaghetti. Can't even find it anymore. Maybe in some Italian stores, but they don't make it this long anymore. And it's so much fun to slurp it up. So let's add our sauce and get down to eating. Now it's time for the assembly. And so we will take some of this glorious zucchini spaghetti. Wow. I had to cut it because it was too long. Now for the sauce. It's beautiful. I call it cheese sauce. Almost vegan. You can make it vegan. It has a little bit of Parmesan cheese in it. Just delete that and you'll have a vegan sauce. And it looks like cheese sauce because of the color of the squash. And let's garnish it. So I'm going to put, I love flowers for garnishes. And I've got an orchid here somewhere. Yeah. Orchid there. A little bit of chives. Sprinkle a few chives in there. And maybe a sprig of rosemary. And a little bit of these leaves there. Now, we could also put, now this is where you can get so creative because if you like mushrooms, if you like sauteed mushrooms, add some sauteed mushrooms into this, okay? Now, if you don't add them. There we go. And if you like the Parmesan, just put a little tiny bit on there. And there you have it. Is that not beautiful? And now I want to show you that you can just use this as a bowl of soup as well. So what I'll do is put mushrooms in the bottom here. Okay, and we have a beautiful soup. Garnish with a little flour, some chives. I saved a little piece of squash here, so let's just put that in like so. A little mushroom on top there. A couple pieces of cheese if you like that. Otherwise, leave the cheese off. Could even put just for a little garnish. There we go. There. And there you have a beautiful, elegant, healthy, made simply, delicious bowl of soup. Now for the best part, what all of this was leading towards, which is the eating of it. So I'm going to start with the soup bowl. Actually, no, this has the zucchini noodles in it. I was mistaken. I saw the garnish on the top and thought it was the soup, but it's not. It's actually the spaghetti. So this is going to be fun to eat because these noodles are really long. So get ready for some slurping. This is so, I mean, you know what? Kids will love this. Oh, and I wanted to say as well that you know what? You can do a lot with this. This is Madras curry powder. And if you want to add flavors that you love, spices or herbs, you know, go right ahead. So that's the beauty of this. It's so versatile. And I brought this out to show you because I really love curry. So sometimes I add a curry flavor to it just because that's one of my favorites. So whatever you like, this is a base. This is a base and you can be as creative and versatile as you like. Mm. 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 It's so creamy. This is delicious. I mean, it's so satisfying. It's a comfort food. And, you know, because of using the zucchini, it's not pasta, so it's not starchy. It's a vegetable. And it's got those vitamins and minerals. It's got the magnesium and the zinc. And just because I said with the signature, the doctrine of signatures, that specifically it points to men for penis health. Don't let that scare you, women. It's very good for us too because we need magnesium and we need zinc. So, mm. 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 That's so delicious. I love it. I could eat this every day. I love the creaminess of the sauce. Roasting the Kabocha squash gives it that nice sort of smoky flavor. And I sprinkled it, as you saw, with a little bit of cinnamon. And it's just a tiny hint in here. It blends so well. It just adds that extra element of flavor. Mm. So delicious. And I love mushrooms, so, you know, sauteing those mushrooms or any kind of vegetables. You can add broccoli to this, carrots, peas, Any kind of vegetable you like. Spinach. Oh, spinach would be marvelous in this. So like I said, this is just a basic that I've shown you. You know, the sky's the limit. You add whatever you like. You could add fish to this. You could even add chicken. I like to keep it vegetarian, but you know, really, these flavors lend to anything. And it's a good way to transition your family and your children to eating healthier. These zucchini needles are really fun to eat. They taste absolutely delicious, and I think any child would love this, absolutely love this. And for other family members who, you know, kind of balk at the healthier choices, this again is a beautiful food to transition to. Amazing. So now, this is my soup bowl. It's so beautiful looking. I almost don't want to disturb it. Look at that. It's so pretty. And you know, I think the colors and textures are also very important when feeding ourselves and our families. It's so delicious. And I saved this little sliver of the baked squash. Wow. It's so good. You gotta try this, really.